bottom of this entire market move. It was when Bitcoin was 24,736 and it went to 31,000 the week after. So that's what's happening here. People are wondering why Travis is saying there's smoke, potentially not fire. I mean, does anyone else here have any color on TUSD or anything additional that's happening with Prime Trust that we haven't covered? You might not. It might be a conversation between me and Travis. I know a lot of people don't want to jump in. David Silver, I'm calling on you because you're the lawyer here, and we talked about this last week when I was talking about Prime Trust.
We did. And, I don't have any insight or any, substantive knowledge to contribute. And as a lawyer, I love saying that because it just means I'm giving my own personal opinions here. But think of how bad this has turned from when we talked about this last week. Last week, I say within a minute of each other, God, I really can't believe they lost keys here because they would have just come out and said that. I was wrong. A minute later, I said, what we're really going to find out here, I think the tip of the iceberg is the TUSD. Because I've said this for a while now, I do believe that the regulators are going to go after the stable coins next. And this is a great stable coin for regulators to go after. I can't remember, I think it was Travis who just said, this isn't like an A-list stable coin. This is like a B or C-list stable coin. Rand used to make fun of me back in the early days when I used to say I was a D-list celebrity in the crypto circ speaking tour. This to me is like a D-list stable coin. So it's amazing because we were talking about 17 million being missing. Now that number's up exponentially. There's going to be a lot more investigation into the smoke. And unfortunately, from what we've learned in all of these investigations in crypto, where there's smoke, there's not just a little fire, there's a forest fire. And I expect we're going to uncover a forest fire here. There's going to be a lot more players that go down. And the numbers just don't add up in the Prime Trust. I mean, they just don't add up. They raised 100 million after 60 million went missing. Then they do redemptions. They end up doing, they come back. They're saying only 60 million was missing. None of these. I'm a 16th century English major in college that had to go to law school because I couldn't get a real job. At the end of the day, there's something here about the numbers which so do not add up that some regulator who, again, we're still in Nevada. There's an issue in Nevada right now that smart people are talking about. As right now, there's a receiver. This is not a bankruptcy. Is this going to convert into a bankruptcy, which all means no one's ever going to get money back? But there's no one publicly proclaiming that they're missing money yet, and I find that so odd. Usually, I'm inundated with calls with people who their funds are locked away. They can't have access to their money. Institutions wanting to get consults with their general counsel. There's not a whisper out there right now of large players who are missing money. So where is all of this money? Who's missing the money? And where's that going next?
That's really a great question because I mean, clearly they were rolling it forward in a Ponzi scheme type scenario, right? If someone came to redeem, they just buy more assets, give it to that person, hope they fill the hole further down the road. But it is curious that we're not seeing and David, and then what do we make of the fact that their client list, at least on their website, literally went down from like 24 huge name clients to 5 or 6 that were left by 2 or 3 weeks ago?
Exactly. And we'll use the self.
But does that mean everybody knew? Like, does that mean everybody knew? Because I can tell you, as you know, like it was a quiet secret in the industry that some large custodian had lost some private keys, but nobody would say who.
Well, here's the problem. And this is, again, I'll use Celsius as the example. Celsius claims they're going to do customer clawbacks. I'm wildly against customer clawbacks, especially consumer customer clawbacks. But how in this instance can they not claw back money from people who were able to get their money out a week, 2 weeks, or 3 weeks ago? That would be the situation where a clawback should actually apply. Someone had inside knowledge. There was clearly leaks going on, and people are running, jumping off the ship, and they knew something to pull all their money out.
But isn't the whole point of a trusted and regulated custodian that there can't be clawbacks? I mean, I guess that's assuming that all the assets are there, but I mean, isn't that the entire point of this trust structure?
I think Kathleen Long made this point. That's the difference of a trust structure in Nevada versus a trust structure in Wyoming for crypto. This couldn't have happened in Wyoming. I'm not sure I 100% agree with her, but at least they're trying to make laws here. This isn't the violation of the trust structure. This is just out and out fraud and stealing. So no matter how good your laws are to prevent fraud, you can't stop the act of a madman. Here, the act of the madman is once the keys went lost, they dipped into customer funds. Someone's going to go to jail for this. That is out and out stealing. So that's a criminal act. So the path to hell is paved with good intentions. There's no one out there, no law can stop anyone from stealing money when they have access. So here, no matter what was supposed to happen, it wouldn't have stopped the person from stealing it once they had access.
I still want to know how the hell you lose the private keys if your one job as a custodian is to maintain them. I mean, we know that it was when there was sort of a migration over to Fireblocks. These were legacy wallets, so something happened there, but I'm not far enough down the custody rabbit hole. But I mean, how does this even happen?
Well, I think that's, I
I mean,
mean, good lawyers, are going to point out that this is a complete violation. The custodial arrangement in the trust obviously says this crypto is yours. And while I'll use Celsius as the example one way, I'll use Celsius as an example the other way. These assets belonged to the individuals and clients of Prime Trust. They did not belong to Prime Trust. So, from that perspective, as we're going back and we're going to start examining this, when someone's going to eventually come up here and say, I'm missing money, we assume. Otherwise, because if this just turns out to be a circular wash, that could be even worse from another perspective. But someone's going to eventually stand up here and be like, I'm out $50 million and I need to get my money back. And the regulators and the lawyers and everyone's going to come together. This is going to go back to November of 2022 when all of this happened and they knew about it. There's going
yeah, apparently it's actually 21 to be clear. So they're saying it was the end of 2021, and then somehow they raised $100 million in July, which
Oh,
means
sorry.
due diligence not a thing. And then they fired their CEO in November-ish of 2022.
Yes, you're completely right. I'm sorry, I got the dates wrong. That's what makes this so crazy is they raised the 100 million, and forget. My belief is that whoever gave on the $100 million raise, the due diligence was clearly predicated on the lie. So people are like, well, didn't someone do due diligence? Well, I'm sure whatever documents they did and received to do due diligence, the due diligence was a lie. Clearly, they didn't put down, oh, by the way, we lost our keys and we don't have our crypto and we're raiding our customer funds to buy crypto. And by the way, I did a tweet about this morning. If you do the time frame from when they're supposed to be buying more crypto, they should almost be, if they bought crypto at the right time with the $100 million raise, they should be at like $150 million plus. Where the hell is all this money?
Yeah, it's a great question. It is very suspect. Here's what I want to know, and I'm sure we don't have anyone on stage, and this is what I've been trying to dig into, but somebody may have some color on this. Obviously, if you're regulated federally and by the state, there's got to be regular audits and attestations. So clearly, the coins are in a wallet, right? So I guess doing that diligence, you could say the coins are there. They showed, they proved it. Shouldn't they also have to prove by doing some small transactions that they have access to those wallets and actually can make transactions? Because this is, like you said, it's been a year and a half. I see we have another lawyer now, Adam, on stage as well. I don't, you requested to speak, so maybe you have some color there.
Yeah, thanks. Adam Atlas here. I'm sort of a dinosaur legal in crypto. Was working on the early stuff opposite New York DFS and FinCEN, et cetera, like 2013. Just a couple quick things to your point. What seems to have occurred in the last, let's say, 3, 4, 5 years, is that the more money you have, the more you want to invest in crypto, but the less you're capable of investing in crypto wisely. The bigger the firm, the worse the due diligence. I think that's what we're seeing with Sequoia and FTX. That's what we're seeing with this investment in Prime Trust, which exactly as you say, they could have easily tested for issues in their crypto custody. So it's, to me, I've been completely puzzled, and I wonder if the other lawyer agrees with me, but it seems that the legal expertise in basic issues in and around crypto declines with the size of the law firm involved. Of course, this is self-serving because I come from a small firm, but we've seen.
Well, so does David.
Okay, okay. So that's one point I want to make. I just want to make quickly one other point, which is when that investment occurred about a year ago into Prime Trust, there was a massive cultural change at Prime Trust. Prime Trust used to be a kind of like, because I've represented quite a number of fintechs going back to 2020 getting plugged into Prime Trust as sort of the solution for their issues. And it used to be, hey, let's sit, side by side, solve your problem, get this going, make sure it's safe, and let's get you going. And then about a year ago, when the big money came in, again, to the point of these sort of, with all due respect, sort of unsophisticated, large, big money coming in, they became totally unfriendly. Scott Purcell, the old CEO, fantastic guy, very friendly. But dealing with the boarding teams and the underwriting teams at Prime Trust in the past year has been hell on wheels. Very, very difficult. Now, you could say, well, Adam, they were being more stringent. They weren't just taking anybody. And okay, fair enough. But if they're being so tough on clients like clients of our firm trying to get hooked up with Prime Trust, how come they weren't being equally rigorous with the back office? So those are just a couple thoughts I wanted to share. Cheers.
You talked about Scott Purcell. A lot of actually the rumor has kind of swirled around him and not in a positive light, actually. I'm interested to hear that you have personal experience with him, and like I said, this goes down the rabbit hole a bit, but he obviously was with Prime Trust and then Bank, which was a subsidiary. He was accused at Bank of basically converting their entire business into an NFT business without board approval, then leaving and taking all of the trade secrets of the company to go to Fortress, which curiously is where a lot of the Prime Trust clients have gone, which is to Fortress. But people are not speaking favorably of him. I don't know the guy. I have nothing against him. I'm just telling you what's being printed and discussed. So
So
maybe things,
Oh,
yeah.
so I'll jump back in on the question of the audit, and I'm going to quote Jesse Powell, who has said horrific things about me in the past, but Jesse sometimes hits things perfectly. When the FTX collapse happened, he was taking shots at Binance, and he was talking about proof of reserves and how he was arguing that it's not, and it's going to exactly what you said. He said that it's not just about showing the wallets; you have to show control over wallets, and that any proof of reserve audit requires the cryptographic proof of client balances and wallet control. What we're seeing nowadays is just proof of client balances, not wallet control. And without wallet control, you cannot see whether someone actually has the reserves they have. He then goes on to talk about just showing what's in a wallet is not really proof of reserve either, because reserves truly mean assets minus liabilities, and that Binance never showed their liabilities. But Jesse was one of the early people who were using proof of reserve audits and trying to make proof of reserve audits better, more transparent, and showing not just the reserve that was the asset, but also the control of the asset.
But this is
And
the custodian, right? I agree with you 100%, by the way, but there's enough problems with proof of reserves with exchanges. We know that none of them have successfully found a way to do proof of liabilities. With Travis, you love to point that out, obviously. But this is the custodian that the exchange is trusting. So even if the exchange did a proof of reserve with that custodian, those coins would be there.
no, but that's the whole point. They would have to. The auditor would have even on Prime. The auditor would have to, as part of the audit, seen the control of the wallet. Clearly, here they never would have seen the control of the wallet with the ETH without the private key.
Uh, what a shit show. I mean, I don't know how else to summarize it at this point. Let's talk about then what the implications of this are, right? Because as many have pointed out, by this time, I mean, I think a 50 to 60 million dollar hole, 80, 100, who knows, while significant, it's not the awe-striking 8, 9 billions that we see from, the FTXs of the world. So is it more of a narrative issue at this time, like that these crypto kids can't be trusted once again, and we need to move our custodians to BNY Mellon and the trusted Wall Street guys? I mean, is that where this is going? Is this more fuel for regulator fire against the industry?
100%, because now it's low hanging fruit. There's no one that can defend this action. This is indefensible. So it gives regulators the ability to say, look, this is what everyone's doing, and it's just everyone's going to get tarred together. People have heard me say that the Binance and the Coinbase SEC lawsuits are wildly different. One they're accusing of fraud, one they're accusing of a legal business model. Those are completely different things. Now you're going to be, regulators are going to throw in and say, this is how custodians do things. This is why we need trusted custodians. And they're going to go after low-hanging fruit.
Travis, I saw you lifted your mic.
Yeah, I agree with that. It seems like, it's just a bad look for the industry as a whole. When you read into the details, if it looks like Prime Trust ended up doing what it looks like they did, which was like lost keys, had a hole in their balance sheet because of that, didn't tell anybody about it, and then used customer funds to trade shit coins to try and get it all back, basically. Like, if that's what happened, then that's just a really bad look for the industry as a whole, trying to get the rest of the world to take us more seriously, on the back of a long line of own goals that we've had over the last 18 months. The total dollar amount size, not that big of a deal. So the kind of like immediate knock-on effects don't seem like they would be that significant. And I think the one caveat is like what the deal is with TUSD, which, there just seems to be a lot of opacity around that right now. So kind of TBD on whether or not there's real issues at TUSD or not.
I guess that's a rabbit hole that we can continue down in the future. I think we've beaten this one to death, and probably go ahead and wrap up, guys. Once again, please check out that the sponsor above, but also importantly, Crypto Town Hall, the Twitter account above. I'm going to ask you guys all to follow it. It will become a breaking news Twitter account, so there'll be a ton of content there. But also, like I said, we're going to eventually be hosting. So if you're going to want the alerts that these crypto town halls are starting, they are going to eventually be hosted on that account. Of course, we will be back again tomorrow, 10:15 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and on Friday. If you're wondering why Ran and Mario's voices are only appearing every so often, it's because they are filming a show called Killer Whales in LA right now with Scaramucci and a whole bunch of other people, basically a Shark Tank for crypto. So they're 3 hours ahead and filming like apparently 17, 18 hours a day. So that's why they only have been popping in of late. But that's great because you guys only want to hear me anyways. See, I can say that when they're not here.